Hello. All right, we are live on the Baby Castles Twitch stream. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me out there in the chat? How's it going? Let me make a little tweet notification here that we are live. Hey, Nicole. Welcome to the Twitch chat. How's it going, everybody? Oh, what's up, Copans219? Thanks for hanging out in the chat. How's it going, everybody? We are live. Oh, we've got 11 viewers here. Really excited to have you here at WordHack. And just getting pumped up with our theme music now by our hit artist MBB. This is the public domain song Sax, and we are just getting warmed up for a fun evening of language, technology, and games here at WordHack. Oh man, it's gonna be such a good time. Really excited to be doing this show with you all this evening. It's gonna give people some time to filter in. All right. Amazing. Hello, everyone. Welcome to WordHack. As you can see on the giant text scrolling behind me. Really excited to have you with us here on this wonderful Thursday night. WordHack is a monthly show that we've been running here at Baby Castles and online at the Baby Castles Twitch stream for about 7.5 years now. So that's quite a long time, and we've got a really great community that come through and support our shows. But so WordHack is a language and technology talk series and a place for people creating experimental language work to kind of show what they're working on. Kind of what led me to create WordHack back in 2014 was just that there are all these different sorts of people working with language and technology in different ways. I came from a poetry background, and I was doing some code-based stuff to work on my performance poetry practice. And then there'd be people who would be computer scientists working on different sorts of generative language and conversational interfaces, people making games with procedural world building and lore and dialogue engines, all sorts of different types of artists using text as part of their visual practice, either as an installation or for a digital piece, and all different ways of writers kind of inserting technology into their writing process to produce new things with language. And I just feel like we all have a lot of things to learn from each other and to talk about in that regard. And I just wanted to create a place where all sorts of people from different backgrounds, if you're interested in words and in technology, you're welcome here and welcome to share things. So I'm really excited to welcome you to WordHack. Whether or not that feels like it describes you. So the general format for the night is we usually have between 2 and 4 featured presenters who will give some talks, usually around 20 to 25 minutes. And then to start things off, we have the open projector. So the open projector is a WordHack tradition that kind of had it since the very first one. As I mentioned earlier, my background is in poetry. And so I started out in New York, let's say, how long ago at this point? 12 years ago. I started reading my poems at little open mics around the city. And it was really valuable to be able to be new in this new place and not know anyone and go up to an event and have an open mic and be able to put my name down and share my work with people. Because that's how you get to know people. That's how you get feedback on your work. And it's really important to be able to do that, even if you don't know a curator or don't have enough of a reputation that people will solicit you to share your work. And I find that can be especially true for digital work because there is often like, oh, all right, like, are we going to set up the projector? Who's going to plug into what? Well, all that kind of thing. I've definitely encountered that over the years. So we like to make that space at WordHack when we're in our physical space. We have our projector where the audience can just plug in their laptop and share something for 5 minutes. And for the online show, we have there's a form you can sign up for either on our email list or by RSVPing on our With Friends page. Form you can sign up for and then get invited in to present here on the stream. So really excited to have our open projector presenters, and we'll get started with that in a second. But yeah, just want to also acknowledge that I'm not in my usual streaming space. I am here visiting my dad, so we are live from Todd's dad's house. That's right. We are still making the stream happen live from Todd's dad's house. It's going to be a great WordHack stream, but I do want to say some of the tech setup is new. So please let me know in the chat if anything is off, if you're not seeing the thing you're supposed to see or hearing the thing you're supposed to hear. That's right. It's Dad's house. I've also added air horns to my OBS live stream, so get ready for that, everybody. Alrighty, let's get started here. We are, oh, I haven't even mentioned who our featured presenters are this evening. Really excited to have these featured presenters. We are going to be joined by Joannes Truyens and Nicole. Let's give it up for our featured presenters here. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, all right. The chat is illustrating what you're supposed to do with the featured presenters. Thank you so much, chat. I didn't even have to introduce it here. We like to create the feelings. WordHack is has started out as and still likes to keep the feel of the in-person DIY space event. And so we always like to encourage people in the chat, even though you're on Twitch, we're not all in the same physical room. We're in the same emotional room. We're in the same conceptual room, where we're all here together in the audience supporting these performers and these presenters and kind of just letting them know that we appreciate them, we're watching, we know that they exist and we are here with them. You're right, Wild Ryanian. It's like we are all in Dad's house. So thank you for showing how we do it to introduce our featured presenters, and let's keep some of that. Oh yeah, so like you can say woo, you can say yeah, you can say clap, you can say oh yeah, you can say all kinds of things in the chat. Let people know you like what you're seeing, and let's kind of keep some of that energy going for our very first open projector presenter, who is Alex Calderwood. Let's give it up for Alex.
Sweet. Okay. Can you see this? Okay, I assume you can. Okay, so in my mind, I was going to be soliciting user or like audience participation for this. So I don't know if there's a way that I can actually do that, because I'm not on the Twitch. But so maybe I'll just.
I can back and forth if you, depending on how real-time interaction you want. I can read stuff off from chat for you.
Okay, yeah, that could work. Okay, so basically what I've done is I've built a Twine generator here. So I assume a lot of people here know, but Twine is just an interactive fiction platform. Essentially just creates you make your little passages and you have them link out to each other, and then you get this interactive fiction. It's a hyper text fiction where you can click on words and have them link to different parts of the story. And that's what this is. So I thought that we could just use it and make a little story together. So yeah, I was going to do this very interactively. I don't know if people want to give me an idea for the theme or the title of the story, or if I should just maybe.
Let's see. All right, chat.
Yeah.
Do you have anything for a story or a theme for this this Twine story? Don't disappoint. Right now, I'm seeing a lot of clap, clap, and clap, 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 clap. But
Okay.
let's see if we get some real suggestions.
It could be a story about clapping otherwise.
All right, I'm seeing octopus here from Sessionista. Also robot.
Okay, how about the robot octopus?
All right.
Okay, so and then we'll say this is by Baby Castles. Okay, so basically the way this works is you just write twee, or so twee is a Twine syntax. Essentially, you're just writing markdown. So I guess let's see. There's a robot. So how does the story start? I guess the story probably starts in the ocean. Does anyone have a kind of a beginning for this story? Maybe I'll start with there, then I can kind of go off. If anyone has a suggestion for like a first sentence, or things that you would do to interact with a robot octopus, or how that story might start. I'm offloading the creative process to the audience here.
We have a lot of writers in the audience. Let's see what cool. You got. A first sentence for our story about the robot octopus, or a first encounter, a first interaction by the robot octopus. We have tenderly caressed by the metallic tentacles. ...
You spell tenderly. Tenderly caressed by the tendrils. Okay, that's good. Okay, so so then twee, you basically insert links. So maybe we could dive into the mechanical tendrils. So I'm just going to add a link here, mechanical tendrils, and then I can give the title a different, I can have this link to a different title. So I'm going to say this is a encounter this okay, so that's where that's going to go. Okay, so tenderly caressed by the mechanical tendrils, you realize it has all gone wrong, horribly wrong. I don't really know what this is. Anyway, so this is a single passage with 2 outgoing links. And so now we've kind of been fed into this to-do list. So now we have 2 links that we have to write. Let's say encounter with a mechanical octopus tendril. So I'm gonna choose to write it. We have some other options, but let's write one more of these. So maybe if we could get a few different things that might happen in this encounter. People have suggestions for ways that this could go, I guess, or maybe actions that you could take with. Sorry, I'm being vague about what's going to happen once we write a few of these.
But. Actions you could take. Caress back.
Okay.
Caress back is our first option. Any other actions? we're choosing our own adventure here. Something beyond caress back that we could choose to do. Add wasabi. Ooh, rude. We also have just poke or poke, depending on the context. We have wasabi.
Okay, poke is good. Poke. Okay, so we have three things. Okay, so now we have a few more passages to write. Tasks are building up. We have a lot of writers here, and I also like to write, but the purpose of this tool is to kind of stir up the idea space by having an AI help you out. So now we have all these links, and what I can do is I can have the model write one of these for me. So add wasabi to the tendril. It just wrote something. We didn't see what that is. I'm just going to say generate a bunch of them. So now it's going to go ahead and just start generating passages. And it's not very smart. So, oh no, that's not great. Okay, well, I don't think I can recover from this, actually. It's the curse of the demo. It actually has been working very reliably up until now. We can maybe see some of the links that it wrote. So right, add wasabi to the tendril. It says the green goop begins to bubble and froth, and then it creates more links at it. Okay, yeah, sorry folks, I think I'm actually at the end of my time just about, but here I'll okay. That's all gone, but real quick I can just show it generating a bunch of stuff, hopefully, and we can get a sense of what it does. Yeah, so that didn't go as well as it could have.
Totally fine.
But yeah, anyway, it would have given you a little tweet game like this that you can click on and have a bunch of stuff. It's a work in progress. Trying to think of new ways that you can bring in language models to kind of stir up the creative space. I just started a PhD in computational media at the University of California, Santa Cruz. I want to plug that. There's applications coming up. So if you want to build cool language technology, definitely consider us. And hopefully next time you see this, it'll be working. All right, I guess. Yep.
Thank you so much there, Alex. And let's give it up for Alex here.
Thank you.
All right, I can get rid of my live from Dad's house text. But thank you so much, Alex, and have been there plenty of times myself of having the project fall apart at the end of the demo. But that's some really cool looking stuff there, and totally don't feel bad about sharing it. And it's as you're working on, we love to see works in progress here, and that's looks like a really exciting tool to. Yeah, we've seen a number of like different ways over the years of people engaging with that, not just like purely generating the entire text at once, but kind of like with a back and forth process of some human written stuff, some machine generated stuff, and putting those together. And that seems like a really cool addition to that form. Thank you for sharing that. All right, now let's give it up for our next featured presenter, who is they're here, Teresa Long. Give it up for Teresa.
Hi, thanks for having me. I wanted to show a prototype that I've been working on that actually is more visual, but I'm looking for suggestions on potentially how to incorporate text or opinions on how to make it better. So as a content warning, the piece is about intimate partner violence. So it's looking at intimate partner violence through the lens of objects that were broken in the relationship. And I'm collecting stories from survivors. So I've been talking with various nonprofits, mostly in New York City, but also throughout the country. And the idea is to, when you put the piece together, the piece sort of heals with gold, uh, kind of like the Japanese art of kintsugi, and then it goes up into the air. But the prototype right now, which I will show, has one object. But for those of you who are knowledgeable about, there are these other games that I was looking at for inspiration. One is a game called Where Thoughts Go, and the other one is called Kind Words. Because the challenge that I have now is that, yes, I can collect more stories, right? But each time I collect an object or a story, it will take time to be able to put it into this space. I mean, right now I'm working with folks who we're using Unity, and it's in the VR space. But I was also thinking about, well, what happens when I was talking to a nonprofit in New York? They had mentioned, well, um, sometimes there are things that aren't object-based. So some of their clients may have an emotional, wound that they want to share. And this project may not be able to accommodate that, but it might. And so anyway, with that, yeah, I would love to hear suggestions or comments. You could reach out to me afterwards, or if you put it in the chat, then perhaps Todd, you could help me out with that. But why don't I share? The prototype is about, I think, 2 minutes. I'll just I'll play a little and then scrub through. Okay, so hold on a second. And the project's name is called Bot Broken. Okay, hold on a second. Let me find the video. Okay, so you can see this. You may not be able to hear the sound. So when you begin,
you trashed the neti pot, my favorite, because I left it in the kitchen instead of the bathroom. You find it disgusting that I pour saline into my nose.
you can see each piece is associated with the sound, right? And then this will continue. I'll just go skip over here.
It's been 3 years since I left. And now I'm doing just fine.
So you get the idea that the object then floats up to join other objects in the sky. And the idea was also potentially to create an interactive collaborative sculpture. So that's the prototype. And I'd be interested to hear if folks have some ideas, yeah, or comments that they'd want to put in the chat of, I'm also looking for potential collaborators as we expand the project. So Todd, if there is anything, please do let me know. Otherwise, I will get off the screen and then cede my time to Ryan.
I can just read out a couple of comments here. Danny Gauthier says, wow, I like how the hands let go. Wild Rye Onion says, love how it connects with the background. V21 says, love how the kintsugi lights up when it's complete. Joannes says, the sound is really nice. Jay Wapkin also loves the sound design. And Duber thinks it's really nice. Just some comments here. Do you have a handle in the Twitch chat? I can direct people to message you.
Oh, my email is teresa@loong.com, Loong. I do have a handle, but I can't remember the rest. I have to find it and put it back on.
All
So
right.
you'll see me log back in once I figure all that out.
Right on.
And then as a separate note before Ryan starts, I was told by a new colleague, Zoe, that that Nicole is awesome and that I should have like look at her work. I saw her website and saw she was on WordHack, so I am very excited to be here tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Teresa. And please reach out to Teresa if you have any ideas or interested in maybe getting involved with that project. All right, give it up for Teresa there. Very cool project. All right, and let's close out our open projector with one final presenter. Let's welcome to the open projector stage Ryan Patterson. Give it up for Ryan.
Oh, hello. Thanks for having me. I will share my screen. Yeah, I was just hoping to share a couple of prototypes that I've been kind of thinking about. I feel like people here might have like better ideas about how to maybe just like let it grow or kind of what to do with it. The first, it comes from like reading about writing and people suggesting kind of tagging sentences by their parts of speech, which is something I hadn't done since like grade school, and I didn't really want to do it. And so I figured I'd see if I could build a UI around doing it. That's basically what this is here. So I'll go ahead and paste some text. This is from Italo Calvino's like Invisible Cities, a part that I really like. And then I have a button that'll like auto tag, and being the audience, like it's using a Brill parts of speech, so it's not great. But it kind of works, right? Like it gets a lot of stuff. The thing is like there's a few things that are like mistagged, and then there's I tried to keep it simple to not tag everything, partly because this gets slow if everything is kind of tagged. But you can at least see some like highlighting and everything else. When I was looking at this before, I think what jumped out was that a lot of the times like the past was tagged as an adjective when it was a noun. And then traveler's past changes according. And so there's things like that that you can kind of fix manually just by using these buttons. I also added these like filter things so you can kind of see kind of the text jump out at you based on kind of what you're interested in, just for kind of studying it, which I think like, at least for me was like interesting. Sometimes things jump out at you. I think at least before I would change the things to like noun, you'd see that all of the adjectives in this section are about like the past, the present, long, all the kind of based on time. And so, yeah, you kind of get something, at least for like analyzing text, that I thought was like somewhat interesting. Also because of the things that I'm using, it's easy to like have a save and load. And and because of that, it'd be easy to like have some like canonical examples that you could just kind of pull up. Of course, it doesn't work that time, but it is possible for it to work. Let's see if it does that. Okay, yeah, so this is from Hemingway, right? But it loads in, you can kind of see it there. It'd be easy to have examples like that to just kind of like share around. I guess that there's people kind of in the chat that have like more sophisticated algorithms and stuff that could maybe make something that's better that I would know about. I was also really interested to see if I could do something around kind of like rhyming or like looking at things phonetically. But it was interesting like looking at phonetic algorithms, and it seems like they're mostly about like vowel sounds instead of something else. And so, yeah, this was just a project that I was like thinking about, thought people might have some ideas about how it could be used in an interesting way. At least for me, it's just something I thought is cool for studying language. So there's that. I was also working on a quick web poem. The Zoom thing is like blocking it. It's not super interesting though. But the idea with it was that there's a grid that can kind of do things that are like interacting. And so you can have a poem and then text behind it. And so here it's playing Conway's Game of Life. I stopped because I didn't think it would be as interesting as like I was hoping it would be. but it kind of seemed like a way to maybe explore the ways that we think about kind of everything being stored, what can and can't be stored. And so yeah, those are just a couple things that I've been like thinking about. Was hoping to share. I'm like happy to share in this environment. Like, thank you for having me and allowing me to do this. My handle basically everywhere except on Twitch is this RYAPAPAP. If you like have any comments or anything. But yeah, that's kind of all I had. Like, thank you.
All right. Thanks so much, Ryan. Very cool stuff. Thank you for sharing your works in progress here. Really like the UI on that price of speech tagger there. And yeah, and I think there's definitely also something to the just like semi-ambient backgrounds to text, because you can only do so much visually and still have the text be readable on top of it. I thought that was a really nice effect there. Let's give it up one more time for all our all our open projector presenters hopping on, signing up for the open projector. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh, and Copans219 in the chat asks if that prose tagger could have an academic use for 7th graders, possibly. Yeah, a pivot into some educational technology here. Great. Thanks so much for Open Projector. Love to have people on the Open Projector. Again, if you would like to sign up for an Open Projector slot in the future, we can have up to 4 or 5 slots depending on the number of presenters. And you can get that by signing up for the WordHack email list, which you can find on the With Friends or the Facebook event, which you probably have seen at some point if you are here. Otherwise, I can maybe drop those in the chat. Grab that real quick. I think I have it. Oh, yeah. You can see the WordHack, getting on the WordHack email list right here. So I'll put out an email for each WordHack, and that includes a link to sign up for the Open Projector, or you can just RSVP on each With Friends link and sign up that way. So if you'd like to present at a future one, and it is a great way to share works in progress, get some feedback, share some of the things you're thinking about, or just share a project that you made. But let's move on to the main event here. Really excited to bring up our first featured presenter, who is Joannes Truyens. Joannes is a writer and an interactive storyteller. Most recently, best known as the creator and live dungeon master of Neurocracy. Really exciting game set in a sci-fi future version of Wikipedia. He'll be telling us a little more about that, and really excited to have Joannes with us this evening, joining us all the way from London. Really appreciate you staying up late and being with us here, Joannes. Let's give it up for Joannes Truyens.
Hi, everyone. I hope I'm coming through all right, and special thanks to Todd for that wonderful introduction. Indeed, it is past midnight here, so if I at any point come off as incoherent, then that is to blame. I'm very happy to be here on this WordHack. It sort of happened because I found out that Neurocracy is a part of Todd's course on media interventions. So thanks to him, it is now required reading. I cannot thank him enough for that. And when I reached out about that, he suggested that I come on an edition of WordHack to talk about Neurocracy, which I am happy to do. And I thought that for this presentation, I'll share my screen and go through the first episode of Neurocracy, which is actually available for free. So you can actually try that out right now. If you go to omnipedia.app, app, then you will see the first episode for yourself. And as I go through it, I'll be highlighting some narrative systems, design decisions, specific bits of writing, as I go. So it'll be more of a freewheeling presentation, but hopefully it will be interesting. So I'm going to now see if I can share my screen. So what you see here is Omnipedia, which is a fictional successor to Wikipedia, and it exists in the year 2049. You can see here the date on top is October 1st, 2049. Now, the premise of neurocracy, as Todd so generously explained it, is that it plays out completely on this Omnipedia, the near future equivalent of Wikipedia. And it's sort of designed to resemble Wikipedia in form and function. So hopefully it will jump out at you. And if you're familiar with Wikipedia at all, and most people, I assume, are, we've all navigated it at one point in our lives. So we made sure that for our fictional equivalent, most things are in the same place. You have a banner with our Jimmy Wales stand-in here, Tony Seung. We have whatever's in the news for that day, and we have a featured article, and the links we all know, random article. We have a revision history here. Well, first off, this isn't really what you first see when you open Omnipedia, because the first thing you see is actually this, which is currently the doorman at every website these days, the cookie consent form, which we've sort of upgraded, because here it mentions that it makes use of cookies and montages to optimize your user experience. So with Neurocracy, we try to use every possible aspect of the format of Wikipedia as a storytelling device, which includes this cookie message because it is a website. So we take this opportunity to introduce a few teasers of this universe, this world, this near future world that you'll be exploring through its Wikipedia, because we have necessary cookies, preference cookies, and here we have something called neurometric montages. So if you are equipped with a neurometric colloid, such as those administered with a membership of G6, Omnipedia may use this function to authenticate your login automatically and continuously for up to 8 hours. So it's not immediately apparent what that means, and truth be told, clicking this on or off doesn't really do anything, but it sort of introduces the world in a way reminiscent, which has been called environmental storytelling. So Neurocracy uses the format of Wikipedia as a storytelling device and attempts to use every possible aspect of Wikipedia as a narrative tool. So for now, we'll just save preferences. We're going to turn neurometric montages off, which the world of Neurocracy will, explain to you why you would want that off. So what I would like to do for this presentation is go by the main page of Omnipedia on October 1st, 2049, and explain basically how it works, the design that went into it. And I want to do so based on the fact that when you open this page, there's 6 narrative pathways that you can take. It was specifically designed to open up a maze for you and allow you to navigate your own way, depending on what you're interested in, what immediately grabs your attention, or what jumps out at you. So the first one is in the news box, because we have our Jimmy Wales stand-in here talking about in his banner message that we are navigating a crisis that has shaken the world to its very core. Now, what Tony is talking about is if we see in the news box that there has been an assassination. Zhupao founder and executive chair Xu Xiaoyang, pictured, so that would be this person, and Golneft Director General Yuri Golitsyn are assassinated during a visit to Beijing. Now, one sort of gameplay aspect of Neurocracy that jumps out here is that there are 2 different links. These links have a solid underline and allow you to click through to that article. So if I click on the Zhupao article, then it gives me the Omnipedia article for Zhupao, which is a Chinese multinational technology conglomerate. And this article, you can judge by the table of contents that it has most of what a genuine Wikipedia article would have: the history of the company, corporate structure, and references at the bottom. But let's go back to the main page. The other type of links, which have a dashed underline, they don't really go out to new pages. They only give you a tiny preview. Because of course it would be infeasible to replicate the entire breadth of Wikipedia's content on this fictional equivalent. So we used a system that Wikipedia has, which is if you hover over a link, you get a preview like so. And this is actually a narrative device because it allows us to introduce concepts without having to write out full articles for each. So here we see that there's been a murder. Xu Xiaoyang has been killed, and Yuri Golitsyn as well. Now we have an article for Xu Xiaoyang, which we can click through to. And here we have, basically this man's entire life up to this point. We have his early life, education, business career. He founded Zhupao, the company that we saw earlier. And now also, apparently, his death is now also listed on his page, which if you go to view changes, basically, you can see what has been changed in this article since the previous day. Because what Neurocracy also does is it has a second pathway that you can take here, which is a revision history. Because Neurocracy tells an episodic story that stretches across 10 episodes. So the story begins on October 1st, which incidentally is the 100th birthday of the People's Republic of China, which was founded in 1949. So there are multiple reasons why this date was chosen as the first episode, also because each episode matches one in-universe day. So you can see here that we're currently viewing Omnipedia on October 1st, but in the revision history, we can go back to September 28th, which is, as we can see, when Omnipedia was first founded, or we can click ahead from October 1st all the way to October 10th. It's because Neurocracy has 10 episodes. Each episode is one day, and that's how it builds a story. There is a murder mystery in the news in the first episode, and then the last episode here offers an answer to that murder mystery. It's not the answer, but it's an answer. So the objective of the game, such as it is to figure out this murder based on the information that you find on Omnipedia. So what you can do here is you can go back one day, and you will see that in the news box has changed. So this is the day the murder happened. We have some other news items, something about a super summer in Europe. Seawall in the United States has collapsed. And the featured article is something else. It's about apparently a worldwide biosecurity and health informatics network called G6. If we go back another day, then we have other news items and a new featured article about Cariapamurin disease. So for each of those, you can click through to the article, browse it, and we've made sure that for this article, I'm now going to browse ahead to October 1st, because we, for the development of Neurocracy, will work with an artist to provide artwork and images and character shots. So for the major characters of Neurocracy, we have these headshots, which were beautifully designed by our artist, Alice Duke, because at the core of Neurocracy is very much a character-driven story. And it's actually an interesting challenge to communicate certain, character traits, certain characters through their Omnipedia articles. So let's now go back to the main page, because we had two pathways. We have the murder mystery in the news box. We have a revision history here. Now, there's another one, the third pathway is here, the featured article, because that is about a reality show called Are You For Real, which is hosted and generated by an artificial intelligence known as Cupoid. Now, for this article, you can click through, and this is Cupoid actually, as horrifying as it is cute, surely. So this article describes most of what you would need to know about this fictional reality show. So its format, history and development, its episodes, its seasons. And what I want to highlight with this pathway is that Neurocracy is also an anthology, because during development, we contacted a number of writers, science fiction writers, game writers, to contribute articles to Neurocracy. So it lends itself well to the verisimilitude of Wikipedia. It is a medium with a lot of writers and editors contributing to it. So this article was written by Lee Alexander, an amazing writer and narrative designer who I was so fortunate to work with. And she put together a cluster of articles about this reality show, which, surprise, has another murder mystery in it. So just like the main murder mystery, which you find here in the news box, this article has another murder mystery that will evolve across the episodes. Another pathway that you can take is here, which is the About Omnipedia link. Because if you do that, then you find Omnipedia's article on itself. And we sort of use this to tutorialize players in how this fictional successor to Omnipedia works, because you learn that it's actually replaced Wikipedia, which was discontinued in 2048. Here we have a section on the operation of Omnipedia, which teaches you basically that this medium that you're experiencing the story through is an unreliable narrator, because Omnipedia is owned by Zhupao, the company that we saw here. And Zhupao is, in cyberpunk terms, a mega corporation. So if they own Omnipedia and they're trying to get a specific message out, then all information on this Omnipedia is immediately suspect, because it's subject to manipulation and spin. So that introduces an element of unreliable narration to Neurocracy. The fifth pathway that you can take is, of course, random article. So if you're feeling lucky, you can just click random article and see which. So this one opens us up to an article about something called mad fish disease. This is an interesting aside, because Neurocracy is very much hard science fiction. So the science comes first. All of this is based on actual research into prions and mad cow disease. And that's sort of how the world of Neurocracy takes shape. It's based on a lot of research into prion diseases. One of the main arcs of Neurocracy is indeed about a pandemic, and it was written several years before we were confronted with a very real one, which lent the story definitely a certain edge. I'm not sure how I'm doing for time, Todd.
Yeah, you have up to like 10 more minutes.
Okay, thank you. So we have to go back here for a second. We have the in the news box, the featured article, the revision history, about Omnipedia, random article. These are 5 different pathways that you can take into the world of Neurocracy. And there's a 6th up here, because of course there's a search bar. So if you're interested about any of these topics or want to see if they occur in multiple articles, you can use the search bar and start your journey into the world of Neurocracy there. Now, one final aspect that I want to highlight is that the story of Neurocracy was basically built over this summer, because these episodes were released once a week. As you can see in this version, they're all available, so you can click through right up until the final episode, which I won't do now because it would constitute a spoiler. But over the summer of this year, these episodes were released on a weekly basis. So, and what that allowed for was sort of a crowdsourced narrative, which Todd earlier called a live Dungeons and D&D campaign. Because what we did was we started a Discord server, and after we released each episode, a community of players came together to find clues and connections, to dive into this world together, to compare notes. And what we as writers of Neurocracy were then able to do was take those ongoing theories, those connections, those clues, and feed those into each subsequent episode. Like for the main story arc, the murder mystery, large parts of those were set in stone, so we knew the beginning, we knew the ending. But for a lot of more details and side quests, if you will, a lot of those were subject to audience feedback. I think I can show you. So this is, we've subdivided on the Discord each episode in its own channel. So as soon as you've completed one episode, you can, if you want, go here and check out all the discussion that has gone on, and now, in my mind, constitutes just as much a part of Neurocracy's world as Omnipedia does. This is a story world that was created in dialogue with the community, which is where the interactive aspect of Neurocracy comes in. I'm actually really happy that Alex, during the open spots, mentioned interactive fiction and hypertext fiction specifically, because that's a genre that Neurocracy does indeed fall into. So, and another aspect that I wanted to highlight is the reason that we went with a murder mystery, because it really helped with the episodic aspect, is that it would turn everything into a potential clue. So if you click on the article for the murder victim, Xu Xiaoyang, then that article introduces a whole swath of information about the world of Neurocracy. So we know that there's been a pandemic. This is a stub that describes who the Chinese president is. So what we're doing with a murder mystery is giving you an incentive to make sure that everything is a possible clue, which means that even a detail in his early life or in his personal life section, like the fact that he is a fan of heavy metal, maybe that's somehow relevant to why he was killed. You don't know. And that really enabled the community to attach themselves to different theories and find connections where none were intended. Which resulted in us building this world, this story together. There's one final thing, is that if the concept of Neurocracy appeals to you in any way and you would like to progress past the first episode, there's actually a seventh pathway, because Tony Xiang here is sitting next to a donate link, which if you click that, you find yourself in a page where you can buy a season pass, which is £15. The first episode is free for everyone, as I was just browsing it, but episodes 2 through 10 are behind a single paywall of £15, and that gets you access to all of Omnipedia, and the Discord is accessible to everyone. And these discussions are by no means finished. So they're still ongoing, and people who are coming into Neurocracy now, going episode by episode, are still adding to these discussions. And we've got a wonderful community who's incredibly helpful in welcoming newcomers and engaging players who are continuing those discussions even now. So Neurocracy is a project, has been a passion project of mine for very long, and I'm very pleased, I'm incredibly gratified with the reception that it has received so far. It basically combines so many of my interests, near future science fiction, interactive storytelling, and a whole bunch of other interests that I was able to weave into this fictional Wikipedia. Before I give the opportunity, if there are any questions or notes, I would like to offer one final teaser, is that in episode 5, you will find that there's an article for a fictional Terminator movie that only works in the universe of Neurocracy. So I figured I would end with that, because if that does not convince you, then I don't know what will. So I would like to thank you so much for your kind attention. Hopefully this was some variety of interesting for you. Getting to work on Neurocracy and releasing it this year has been one of the most incredible experiences of my life. And I'm really happy that I was able to share this little dive into its first episode with you. So thank you so much. And if there are any questions or comments, then I can't see them, but I'm sure Todd will feed them to me right now. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much. Let me read out some of the what we have in chat here. So we have just a lot of love this so much, this rules in here. So you should go back and read through that. We've got some big fans here in the audience. Copans219 says, one can imagine a movie about it blending into real present events in strange ways. Dan SAP says, this is everything I want out of interactive storytelling and science fiction. Countless Columns says, thank you, can't wait to play this with my girlfriend. And then just a lot of claps. And is there any questions in the chat? Oh yeah, we have one from Gemstones, which were, what were some of the challenges of telling a narrative like this?
There were a lot of challenges, mostly because we didn't really know what the interactive storytelling aspect of this project would look like until we were halfway into it. We were very fortunate with the community immediately diving into the first episode and coming up with clues and connections that we were able to feed back. I mean, this has been a passion project of mine for so long that I would have continued it regardless, but if it had been for 2.5 people, it would have been kind of a bummer. So the energy that we received from this community week on week, because it was, a marathon followed by 9 sprints, releasing the episodes on a weekly basis, with most of those articles being written in their respective weeks, was a lot of work. And so there were a lot of challenges there that we were finding in the moment, but the way it all came together in the end is, I think it could only have gone this way. One of the biggest challenges was to work with the resources at our disposal. We had a Kickstarter last year, which gave us a modest budget and allowed us to hire extra writers, and the artist at Alice Duke, who made the beautiful art. So there were a lot of different challenges on the way, also because this was my first sort of independent project that I managed mostly myself. So the challenges were myriad, but I'm happy that we were able to see it through the way we did.
So Miadzin asks, how long did it take?
Well, Neurocracy has been a big part of my life on and off. The first seed of the idea came to me when I was 17 years old, so it's a little more than half my life ago. And it started taking different shapes. It was going to be a Half-Life 2 mod in my early 20s. I was going to write it as a novel in my late 20s. And then I got the idea to have Wikipedia be the medium for this story world, also because that felt more comfortable to me, as in something that I could deliver with the means at my disposal, and also because my writing style has been described as quite dry and encyclopedic. So this felt like a perfect fit for me. But the actual work that went into Neurocracy, developing it as it is around 5 or 6 years, all together. I couldn't really put an exact figure on it because it's honestly all a blur to me now.
Got it. Okay. So Dan Sapp, I can answer your question here, and Dan Sapp asks if it's ongoing, and it finished up this summer, but yeah, as Joannes, it was influenced by definitely user theories did make their way, although it was saying that a lot of the plot was set in stone coming out. So Gemstones asked, did you look to past database narratives, like Her Story, etc., for it, or what were some of the touchstones of like other sorts of either database narratives or of this kind of spread out storytelling?
Her Story and definitely Gone Home were huge influences. They were games that taught me to find the storytelling and the ambiguity, leaving things open to interpretation, and indeed database storytelling, where I basically found my way into the interactive fiction community with games like Portal. Because I started with the premise of using Wikipedia as a medium for a fictional for a story, and from that came the genres that it finds itself in. So that's how I fell backwards into the interactive fiction community, and learned about games like Portal. Another huge touchstone is a game called Deus Ex, which is hugely influential because the near future that game presented inspired in me the wish to create one for myself, and that's what Neurocracy now represents. So yeah, it definitely has a lot of roots in those spaces of database games and interactive fiction. And yeah, there are definitely things that I managed to roll into Neurocracy.
Excellent. Well, I think that's about the time we have for questions. So thank you so much, Joannes, for joining us, for staying up late in England to be with us. We really appreciate it, and let's give it up for Joannes here. Thank you so much.
It was my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I do believe I will be returning in now because I'm way past tired. But again, thank you so much for having me, and I'll definitely be catching the full video when it becomes available.
All right. Thank you so much, Joannes. That was great. Really
Bye,
excellent
everyone.
to have you. And yeah, if you missed us posting the link earlier, it's at omnipedia.app, is where you can check out the first chapter or and get the whole thing for the low price of £15, which is how much? I don't know, like $23 American. Well worth it. Some really incredible writing. You can just really while away some time getting deep into some rabbit holes on the Omnipedia. So can't recommend it enough. And thank you again, Joannes, for joining us. We have one more featured presenter for you this evening. Before we do that, though, I do want to give a quick shout out to an event we have coming up at Baby Castles, or run by Baby Castles, not necessarily at Baby Castles yet. We are still in the process of reopening our physical space, but we have a workshop coming up this Sunday, I believe, which is the Baby Castles Academy Intro to UXN Programming. So it's a portable 8-bit virtual computer inspired by Fourth machines. So kind of fictional virtual machine. Maybe if you're familiar with Pico 8, some similar ideas about a fictional low-bit console. This is with Seijo, who is teaching this. So this is this Sunday at 3 p.m., $5 to $15. You see it says $2 for me because I, Todd, am a member of Baby Castles and can get those discounted workshop rates, so you can also become a member of Baby Castles by going to withfriends.co/babycastles/join if you would like to get discounted admission to workshops and some other great things too. That is a place you can go to check that out. Okay. Back to our final featured presenter. I'm really excited to welcome back Nicole Hay. Nicole is a really amazing game maker and creative technologist who's been a presenter, friend, community member, friend of the series for many years. Really excited to have her back this evening to talk about, I believe, maybe some new games she has in the future. Really excited to have Nicole back at WordHack, so please give it up for Nicole Hay.
Hi. Wow, thanks for having me. Hi, everybody. It's good to be back in virtual WordHack. I think I spoke at WordHack like a few years ago, so things have changed. So thanks for inviting me back, Todd. Hi, everybody. I'm going to share my screen. Make sure I share the right screen. Okay, that looks like the right screen. Okay. So I'm gonna do a little, just a, I don't know, normal, basic talk today. Also, there might be some dudes yelling outside my window, so if you hear that, I apologize. Anyway, my name is Nicole, and I am a game developer and a creative technologist from New York. And in the past, most of my work, I would say, fell under more of the creative technology realm. And thematically, the projects that I made were about things like the relationships between people and computers, the gap between our expectations of technology as informed by science fiction versus the reality of how technology actually works. But for the last couple years, I've been pretty much a full-time indie game developer. By the way, if you want to know the secret to getting people to interact with your interactive project for more than 2 minutes, it is to call it a video game. That's something I've learned. Anyway, I've been working on 2 games, both of which are still in progress, and one of which is a commercial game. And that's not the one I'm talking about today. The other one that I will talk about today is a highly experimental arts-funded game. Let's see. Okay, so it is. It's called Cyberspace, and it's produced by the National Film Board of Canada. So I think next week, actually, we will be releasing like a prologue teaser for it that is playable, which is pretty exciting. But Cyberspace is a sci-fi narrative game that you play by talking, like with your mouth out loud at the computer, and the computer talks back to you. I'm not cool enough today to do a live demo, so instead I'm just going to show you a little clip from the gameplay of the prologue. Oh, you aren't? Oh my God. Okay. Okay, I knew I would forget to check the boxes. So let me redo this. All right. I knew I would forget to check the box. That's always what happens. Can you hear that now?
That is
Yep.
a nice name with a nice
Yep.
sound.
Great. So now you're gonna listen to this.
My name is Salus. Welcome aboard the ship. How are you doing today?
I guess I'm feeling a little tired.
That's okay, Nicole. I will use our interaction to try and make your day positive. I see that you are not in your space uniform. How interesting. Please tell me why you chose the outfit you are wearing today.
I just pulled whatever out of my luggage.
That was a shorter answer than I anticipated. Please tell me more.
I had my clothes sort of rumpled up in my luggage, and I grabbed a shirt and I grabbed some pants, and that's what I'm wearing today.
A suitable answer.
Anyway, so that's just a little clip of how this game works. And so yeah, so I think next week we're actually going to officially announce the game and then release this weird little prologue. But today I kind of want to like take a little step back and talk a bit about the reasons why I decided to embark on the journey of making this kind of weird thing, as you know, a coder and as an artist and as a person who was inspired deeply by the games that I played growing up and didn't think that hard about it, I guess, until recently. So for me, my favorite video games have always been about exploration and adventure. I love the feeling of being in a place, often meticulously and lovingly designed and crafted by somebody or a group of somebodies, traversing it, finding every nook and cranny, taking in the scenery, uncovering secrets. I think the reason that this is appealing is pretty obvious, right? It mirrors a childhood experience of walking through an untrailed forest, turning over rocks and finding a frog, accidentally startling a deer, maybe seeing a turkey or a bear drinking in a meadow in the distance, finding an injured baby owl, seeing other magical creatures. Having a sense of wonder about the world, a feeling like you can't fully predict what is going to happen next, but in an exciting way. As we get older, we have fewer and fewer of these experiences, right? Where we feel that sense of awe and wonder about the possibilities of life. Getting older means doors are closing behind you and you have a more narrow vision of what is to come in your future as you hurtle towards death. So for me, exploring in a video game brings back at least a little bit that feeling of childhood wonder. Video games allow us to explore without consequences, right? It's a fantasy that you can do incredible things or terrible things without anything bad specifically happening. As an aside, this particular game, Tomb Raider 2, was really formative for me as a kid. It was terrifying and it scared the shit out of me, like having to murder this tiger every time. It was horrible. But it also gave me the feeling of being like a cool, powerful woman exploring exotic locations around the world. And I was playing this level recently, and there's actually like the scene at the end of this level where Lara Croft is using a laptop like in a cave in the Great Wall of China, and I guess that sort of inspired me as a kid, without me particularly realizing it at the time, as some kind of dream job or something like that. But it's more than just the joy of wandering through a beautiful landscape or something. The real pleasure, in my opinion, is learning the systems of the world that you're in and testing its boundaries. So, for example, Breath of the Wild actually does quite a good job of this pretty famously, where like 8 hours in, you've learned how the game works, and the game has taught you what its rules are, and it's told you what you are trying to accomplish in the game. But then you're like, I wonder if I shoot electric arrows into the river, if that would electrocute the fish and it'd be easier to catch them, even though the game never told you you could do that. And then you try it and it works. That's the best feeling. That's the stuff. That's the good shit. When you have that moment of thinking, oh, given my understanding of the structure of this game, of this world that I'm in, I wonder if this would work. And then you try it and it does work. To me, that is the magic of games or interactive experiences. I think it's something that doesn't quite exist in linear media in the same way. Of course, movies and books and paintings can evoke deep emotions in us or surprise us. But I think having this feeling of agency and exploration in an experience is something that is unique to interactive media. I always think that the best part of a game like this is when you've basically learned how the game works. Like you learned what all the buttons do, you learned how to read the UI, and you learned what you're supposed to try to do in the game. But it's before you've, say, unlocked the entire map. It feels infinite. I feel like in big AAA games like this, it's usually about 10 hours in. That's the sweet spot. And it's all about the sublime feeling of power and exploration in this imaginary world. This is when you can actually suspend disbelief, when you're familiar enough with the imaginary world that it's like coherent and structured, but you haven't found the edges yet. And so it feels like there are unlimited possibilities. Maybe counterintuitively, I often feel like older games give you more of an authentic feeling of exploration. This is a newer Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider. And like many new games of this type, they tend to feel more like cinematic experiences. It feels like a movie, kind of you're like railroaded down the narrative path. It's, the shadows like on the vines on the walls are almost hyper real. Laura's hair blows in the wind, and now she has things like a perfectly diverse cast of friend characters and also like emotions and stuff like that. And I don't really like it. But old games, I think the reason why old games have that more authentic sense of exploration, even with worse graphics, is because old games let you experience frustration and also boredom. New games basically do everything in their power to not have you experience those things. But frustration as a mechanic mirrors real life, because going through life isn't like a seamless linear narrative experience. At least it's not for me. Maybe it is for the rest of you. I don't know. But as a game designer, you know that it's quite difficult to actually mirror this. Anyone who makes games or is a coder or makes like anything, I guess, will know that making something linear is about infinitely easier than making something procedural. I mean, if you want it to be good, right? But the friction that we experience and overcome is what makes something feel powerful and meaningful. And it reveals my personal biases, but I tend to not prefer games that are pure wholesomeness and sugar sweet comfort. As a player, I don't mind being asked to work through something, which is not even to say I'm into like Dark Souls or something like that. But I do enjoy being challenged physically, psychologically, emotionally, if there's a payoff, like if there's a reason for that. Okay, so what? Like I've been talking about all these old games, but what does this have to do with my own work? Well, I obviously don't make gigantic open world exploration RPGs, but these principles that I'm talking about are things that I think about in my own work. Making a game that basically takes place in a conversation is actually a really interesting and rich place to allow a player to have that sense of boundary pushing and exploration. Exploring a game via a conversation is not dissimilar, I think, from exploring a game in sort of an open world, like visual format. You are sort of often guided down a path, but also if the experience is well designed, you're nudged towards exploring its edges as well. So I have these questions like, how do you encourage a player to find the boundaries of the work? How do we build a coherent paradigm in a game, but then break it in a way that feels profound? And what is the right level of friction and frustration for it to feel rewarding when overcome? On the issue of frustration as a mechanic, there's a small game I made a couple years ago called Enhanced.computer. And basically it is inspired by the the sci-fi movies and the police shows where somebody's like standing in front of a screen and then they looking at a photo and they yell enhance, and then somehow the computer magically like zooms in on somebody's eyeball and then you can see like the murderer's license plate reflected there. Anyway, so this game lets you do that basically. And you can kind of see at this, you say these like commands that are on the left side, and then at the bottom it tells you the speech recognition of like what it's capturing and stuff. Anyway, I could show you a very nice video compilation of people playing it and having a great time, but instead I will show you a video, the best video I've ever seen of somebody playing this game.
Begin investigation. Okay. Enhance. 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 Fuck.
Enhanced.
Enhance. Enhance.
Enhanced.
Enhance.
Enhanced.
Te lo está diciendo la computadora. Enhance. 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 Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you.
This video is just the best. I mean, I feel really bad, but also, I mean, this video is also like actually quite a bit longer. Like I've cut it. It just like keeps going. But this is the type of thing where it's just like, it comes with the territory of making a game that uses speech recognition, right? I too have experienced the pain. I know some of you in the chat here also come to my Twitch streams, and I played this game called Lifeline a few months ago. And Lifeline is a game that's on the PS2, came out in 2003. It's like actually really wild, like how this even could have happened. But it's a game that you play by, it's a narrative game that you also play through speech recognition. And I'm gonna show you a clip from me playing this game. And I know, again, some of you are in the chat, were there, but like, I cannot fully express. I mean, okay, I'll just play it.
I can't what?
Okay. Blue. Forward.
Yep.
Okay, we're
I can't go forward from here.
We're gonna make it. We're going to make it. All I have to do is get on the green and then get on the red. All right. Green. Forward.
Yep.
Red.
I can't go forward.
Red. Forward. Oh my god. I know I was. Oh my god. I was just talking about how it's like nice to have frustration in old games, but I'm actually gonna walk that back because of this experience. Because it's like, it took like an hour. Like once you die here, it took like a whole hour to like get back. It was horrible. Anyway, this was terrible. So it's sort of like, why, why would you ever make a game using voice technology? Because it doesn't work, right? Or it doesn't work reliably. So why would somebody go through the pain of making this kind of thing? Well, there's a few reasons. Okay, so I think there are some things that are really special and interesting that voice games can allow you to do that are unique. It's not only unique to voice games to have open input rather than multiple choice, but it's something that feels really natural. So obviously in probably 99% of narrative games where there's like you're playing a character and there's dialogue, it's going to be, this is how it works, right? It's like somebody says something to your character and then there's like options for what you can say in response that pop up on the screen, and then you select the option and then you move forward through the experience. There's something just really natural and intuitive of building an interaction using voice that isn't multiple choice, right? You're asked questions and then you have to come up with the answer in your own brain rather than reading it off of the screen. And so it's pretty cool to get to experiment with that. But it still requires a pretty high level of good design, I would say. So I'm going to show you another clip from this game called Bot Colony. I forget what year this came out, maybe 2013 or something like this, but there are some pitfalls as well to this. I'll just show you this clip.
Are there other reasons why a person would use an alarm clock?
Yes.
What are they?
To listen to music.
A person needs to use an alarm clock to listen to music.
Well, they don't need to, but they can if they want. I mean, it's a little more complicated than that.
Good. From the two, what they can if they want means little cocky or pumpkin that.
No. Ignore that. Undo.
Okay, I got it. No, ignore that done to undo.
Nailed it.
Anyway, so I guess basically it's, what I'm trying to say is like it's really difficult. It's really hard to make something like this that works well. And I want to show you a little clip again from the prologue, where it's kind of a small thing, you know. Our game is open input, and I'll just show you this and then talk about it.
For the purposes of pre-mission diagnostics, please tell me what is your favorite animal to have as a pet?
My favorite animal is a tarantula.
Okay, spiders, widely feared animals. I am creating an archive of information about this creature right now. What do you like about spiders?
They're just like cool as hell.
Please tell me more. Do spiders remind you of something good?
I guess it reminds me of like Halloween and I don't know, cool stuff, like really goth.
Very good, Nicole.
Anyway, so it's kind of a small thing, right? Like the character Salus asks you, what is your favorite animal? And most of the time, if you're playing a game and you're asked a question like that, you know, the words like dog, cats, guinea pigs, whatever, pop up on the screen, but it feels different to not have that and to actually again have to use your own mind to come up with an answer and say it out loud. I think that again there are other open input games that are sort of text-based, but I believe that it is a different experience to have to do it with your own voice, like to talk out loud, use your own physical body to interact with it. It changes the experience, like it makes it a lot more personal. And it makes it a lot harder to not play as yourself. And this is something that sort of like ties into the central themes of the game, the mechanics of which are about having a conversation with an AI spaceship that's trying to understand you, which is basically an impossible task. And as a designer, there's this sort of contradictory desire to have control over the experience, right? Make sure it works well. but also to allow for this feeling of a limitless experience. I kind of want to quickly talk about just AI as it exists in, or as how it's represented in video games. You may notice that there are some interesting similarities between the humanoid AI characters in video games and other media. Why do they almost always have the bodies of young women who are also killing machines? Why do they do their killing in heels? Why do they have breasts that get so overheated, apparently, that they need to have holes in their clothing? These are just some questions that come up. And there are some consequences to anthropomorphizing machines. When we give computers human bodies, we put our cultural values on display and then tie them to the expectations that come with those bodies. It's really difficult to imagine a voice without a body. My friend Melanie Hoff, who's an artist, made this zine called Draw What You Think Alexa Looks Like, which is a collection of drawings from children aged 2 to 15. And it's interesting to see that children, before their minds are polluted by the experience of life, typically still attach a humanoid female body to the voice of Alexa. The exception here is the drawing by the 4-year-old Amelia on the right, who says, "I think it's a thing, not a person." And she probably draws actually the most accurate image of the cloud servers that Alexa actually lives on. I think it's important to talk about the voice assistants and the corporations that create them when you're making a voice controlled game, because a lot of the technology is that you have to use basically is built by them, and the companies try to say that their assistants are not people, right? But Microsoft literally named their AI assistant after Cortana, which was like their particular boob window video game character. And the companies that make these devices are like motivated to act as if the technology works really well. It's very impressive. But the truth is that it mostly doesn't. And this isn't a technical talk, so I'm not really going into the details of like how everything works technically, but you can ask me about it if you want. But these are the basic tools that we use to make cyberspace, to make the whole experience work. And the biggest part and most difficult part is the thing on the right, which is the natural language understanding. And it's very bad and hard to do. Anyway, just to sort of like wrap it up, cyberspace is about a relationship, ostensibly a fake one, between a human player and an AI who is trying to understand you. And again, it's a task which is impossible, right? And this sort of is playing off of expectations of what AI is and means in our popular culture. And I will say that when the final game comes out, which will be next year, there will be some surprises, let's say. And in the end, I think it's a pretty lofty goal to try to create something that achieves some of those elusive emotions I was talking about earlier, to sort of like balance challenging a player while not necessarily making them scream or cry in frustration. And to create a system where you as a designer can control it, but also one that sort of lets a player explore. And I'm hoping that cyberspace can, when in the process of making cyberspace and having people experience it, like we can at least elicit some kind of strange feeling in a player. So thank you. You can find me on the internet and now in real life too, because now I leave my apartment again. But yeah, so cyberspace, the prologue / announcement like teaser thing is probably going to be coming out next week, early next week. So keep an eye out for that. You can try it yourself. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us, Nicole. That was a really amazing presentation.
Thank you. If anyone has questions, I'm happy to answer some.
Yeah, we've got a little time for questions if anyone would like to send something in the chat. Nicole, are you looking at Twitch chat, or should I read out to
I
you?
am.
Wow.
I'm always looking at Twitch chat.
Nicole, witnessing you in the Twitch chat, witnessing your questions. There are questions. I'm seeing several dancing figures in pajamas. Thank you, Maze. Some claps, some yays. Oh, your pretend friend. Oh, you see it. I don't need to read them out.
I see it. Yes, I will read the question from your pretend friend, who is Jules. How do you deal with people's different accents? The answer is badly. So there are some parts. Okay, so going back to that slide about the sort of three components that make how this thing works, like speech recognition, speech synthesis, natural language understanding. Speech recognition is the piece that we have the least control over. And so basically, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this is running on web. It's in the browser, and it will work on both mobile and desktop, and in most browsers, though we will highly recommend using Chrome on desktop. Anyway, so the speech recognition is sort of the technology that we most have to just kind of use off the shelf stuff. Like people have, companies have built these tools to varying degrees of quality and success, and we just have to kind of rely on them. I mean, we use a couple different tools, a couple different speech recognition engines, and that is something we just don't have control over because they are models trained probably mostly on people who have, accents that sound like mine, like generic American native speaking Californian accents or whatever. And so it doesn't necessarily work very well for people with accents. And that's the thing that sucks and don't have any control over. Okay, next question is, how does it map tarantula to spider? So that is a bit of the magic in us doing natural language understanding, but that's also very manual. That's like quite a manual task. That is a big part of the work that goes into this, is training a model basically to listen for and understand specific words in specific moments, or like specific things that people are saying in specific moments, and basically do the manual labor, of like saying tarantulas or spiders, like stuff like this. It's like the kind of thing we have to do a lot. That's sort of a vague answer. It gets more technical, but it's basically training natural language understanding models that are really specific to the dialogue. Okay, next question. How do you approach handling profanity / slurs / malicious inputs? So interestingly, the speech recognition engines, I think depending on which one, but some of them like will asterisk out. So if you say like fuck, it'll be like F***, which is kind of funny. It doesn't really affect anything, I guess. Like somebody can just be swearing at their computer and that's on them, I guess. I guess the consequences, like anybody watching is like, why is this person swearing at the computer? But it doesn't have, it doesn't affect that. But if you're asking about the other way around, like, well, okay, so this might not be what you're asking, but someone has asked me this, so I will also answer this question. Because one thing that comes up a lot with AI, right, is like, it's trained on like Reddit, and so it's going to say like horrible things at you. But the thing is, our game is fully it's fully written. It's we're using ink it's like quite a complicated setup, but we're using ink as a narrative system, and we have an amazing writer, Paula Rogers. So every line that the character says to you is a written line of text by a human, and that is the only way to make a good character and narrative experience for something like this. Even if the characters is ostensibly an AI, and technically there is some AI behind it, it's not in the text generation. That's probably not what you're asking, but some people, I think that has been a question that's come up so far. So, so basically, we make sure that like the way we make sure the dialogue is good is having an amazing writer write the dialogue. Let's see. So our test plays of the game also contributing to learning data of the model. It's not in an automated way, but probably we will, in a manual way, it will. So seeing what people have said, by the way, we can see what people have said, but it's like anonymous, so it's not tied to anything, or it's like to who you are or anything like that. So seeing that will help us make tweaks, but it's not going to be some kind of like auto training thing where it's like making decisions on the back end without me asking it to or something like that. Let's see. What did you find worked best with mapping from NLP, NLU to your narrative design structure? So we're using something called RASA. It's an open source NLU engine. And basically, it's actually quite cool, it like works really well. And we have this system that's built out that's basically combining the natural language understanding to try to capture intents and entities around what a person is saying, and then map that to choices in ink. That's like an overview of how it works. I mean, if you know what these words mean, basically. So we're using RASA, we're using ink, we're using a couple different speech recognition things. It's all running in the web and on servers and stuff. By the way, we have an amazing dev team. It's not like I did all this by myself or something like that. We have a full team of people who have been working on this, which is amazing. Again, produced by the National Film Board of Canada, a country that has government funding for the arts. And yeah, I don't know how we are on time, Todd, if we have more.
You have time maybe for one more question if you want one.
Okay, let's do one more. The tarantula spider mapping, to use any kind of knowledge base. No, we're not using any kind of knowledge base for that. It's quite manual here. We could have probably, but I feel that it is more important to have a well-designed, controlled narrative written experience, like to focus energies on that rather than to create the most robust like machine learning model for natural language understanding in the background, if that makes sense. Not that they're necessarily at odds with each other, but in terms of resources and time and energy, that's where the focus is, more on the like emotional experience of the script and and your relationship to the character and all the things that are going to happen in the final game. So anyway, I guess that's going to be it for me. So yeah, check it out next week, probably when we announce it. So, but thank you for having me. Thanks for joining.
Thank you so much for being with us, Nicole. Give it up for Nicole in the chat. Thank you so much. Really great to have you with us again, Nicole. And the game looks really cool. I'll look out for the link and tweet it out, send it out once it's live and available. All right, everyone, that is our show. Let's give it up one more time for all our open projector and featured presenters. So we had Joannes Truyens and Nicole Hay, and then we had Alex Calderwood, Teresa Luong, and Ryan Patterson on the open projector. Let's give it up for them. Oh yeah. All right. Okay. And if this is your first time with us, we do hope that you'll come back. WordHack is a monthly show, and you can find out about future ones by signing up on our email list here, dropped in the chat here. We're on the third Thursday of every month. We've been online since the pandemic, but in the future we will be back in person at Baby Castles as well. But don't worry, if you're not in New York City, you will still be able to watch the show online in the future. It's been really great to hang out with our WordHack friends all around the world, and so we don't want to lose that. And so the show will stay streaming as well, even when we go back to in person. Yeah. Also, I realized I might not have introduced myself. What's up? I'm Todd Anderson. I host and curate this show. And it's really my pleasure to do so, especially when we have amazing shows like this one. So yeah, if you would like to catch another WordHack, would love to catch you back here. You can hop on the email list. You can follow me online at on Twitter. I'm at Todd Words. I usually tweet about the show when it's coming up. Yeah, that's I think it. So again, this is Todd signing off live from Dad's house. About to go get dinner and hang out with my dad. Looking forward to that. Hope you all have a very nice weekend and a nice holidays for those of you that are celebrating holidays. And we'll catch you back in December. All right, everybody. See you later. Catch you next time.